Hey folks, this is Kalani. Patch 8.3 will bring the final season of Battle for Azeroth for everything from PvP and Arena to Raiding and Mythic Plus. Season 4 will be introducing a new Mythic Plus affix, and the Titan Residuum vendor will be updated to reflect the higher item levels on offer from every other form of content. But they're changing things up a little bit this time around, so let's have a look at how you can farm Titan Residuum in patch 8.3, how much you're going to get from different sources, and how much you'll need to purchase the latest goodies on offer from the Titan Residuum vendor. With a new season comes higher item level Azerite gear tokens, and as per usual there's a little bit of overlap where the highest token for Season 3 is now the lowest token for Season 4, which leaves us with item level 445, 460 and 475 tokens to purchase with Residuum. Nothing too surprising here, the vendor rewards will keep up with the new raid tier rewards, so you'll always be able to keep pace with the current endgame rewards on offer, even if you don't actually raid. We're still working with the same items for the most part, except the Mechagon dungeon has now been split into two and can now appear on your Mythic Plus keys. That means all drops from the Mechagon dungeon now scale with the Mythic Plus system, and all Azerite gear has been added onto the vendor, and I'm assuming they've also been added into the random token pool as well. We finally have some new Azerite gear to choose from. I know some of the Azerite gear from the Mechagon dungeon has ideal traits for a handful of classes, so that should be exciting news for some, but perhaps more importantly, all of the gear available from Mechagon will be available in the weekly Mythic Plus cache. That means the braces that have been coveted by fire mages for this entire patch pretty much might not be going anywhere anytime soon. Other powerful items like the weapons are sure to be highly sought after as well, so keep your fingers crossed your boxes will contain something exciting. Now back to Residuum, perhaps the most important question when we're talking about this vendor is, how much Residuum are you going to need to start buying some of the new higher item level Azerite gear tokens in Season 4? Every new season that we've experienced in Battle for Azeroth has inflated the numbers quite drastically to make sure farming Residuum in Season 2 won't give you such a huge advantage in Season 3. The dev team doesn't want you to be able to buy the highest item level stuff straight away from the vendor the day the patch launches. That would be a little silly. But this is the first season where the values are actually going to go down. They're going to reset everything for Season 4, which is probably needed at this point. If they didn't reset it, we'd be forking over 1 million Residuum for the specific pieces of gear, no doubt. These are the current numbers on live servers: 1,725 Residuum for a 415 piece, 9,000 Residuum for a 430 piece, and 47,500 Residuum for a 445 piece of gear. For Season 4, all of those values are going to be slashed down to about 10% of the live costs. A 445 item level token will cost you 175 Residuum, a 460 piece will cost 900, and a 475 piece will end up costing you 4,750 Residuum. When it comes to specific pieces, they will receive the same treatment. They used to be 200,000, and in patch 8.3 they're going back down to 20,000. Everything else aside, just having smaller numbers is definitely much nicer to look at. When numbers get too big, they start to kind of lose meaning, and it seems to be a problem that we see time and time again across multiple systems in World of Warcraft. Heck, we're at the point where we've had multiple stat squishes, and the next expansion is even going as far as a full level squish. Now we get the Residuum squish as well, and before you start jumping for joy that your 100,000 stockpiled Residuum, or whatever you have, is going to let you buy everything you want at the highest item level when this patch goes live, I already told you, the dev team doesn't want that. This will be a proper reset of Residuum this time. All of the Residuum that you have going into this patch will disappear. You'll be reset back down to 0 and will have to farm it all up again, no matter how much you had before this patch goes live. Everyone will be on a level playing field for Season 4, which is definitely a nice change of pace. That also means you don't have to worry about spamming Mythic Plus right now to try and get an advantage in the next patch. It's all going to reset whether you have 10,000 or 900,000. Honestly, I think a hard reset like this might have been the better option for all seasons of Battle for Azeroth, but it's a bit late for that seeing as we're going into the very last season with patch 8.3. I said your Residuum will disappear, and while that's true, you will be compensated somewhat appropriately. 1 Residuum will turn into 1 silver, and the total amount owed to your characters will be mailed to them on patch day. You can actually log into the PTR right now and check to see how much your current Residuum is worth. You'll have some mail attached with gold, and that will be your current converted rate. Obviously, the more Residuum you get before the patch goes live, the more gold you'll have on patch day, but because it's a fairly low exchange rate of just 1 silver per Residuum, it's probably not worth thinking too hard about. Just accept the gold and the reset and move on to farming for new Azerite gear. Speaking of farming, the only 2 sources of Titan Residuum won't be changing with Season 4, so you'll be left with the weekly Mythic Plus cache and then ripping old Azerite gear apart. It's worth noting that up until patch 8.3 you will still be able to get Titan Residuum from disenchanting or scrapping your gear, but when the patch hits and we enter Season 4, all gear obtained beforehand will become outdated and will no longer provide you with Titan Residuum whatsoever. Only items gained during Season 4 will break down into Residuum in Season 4. So if you want to take advantage of that Residuum to pennies exchange, get all of your spare Azerite gear scrapped before 8.3 goes live. The amount of Residuum you get from scrapping will also follow the 10 times less pattern in Season 4 by the looks of things. If you scrap or disenchant a 445 piece of Azerite gear, you should get 40 Titan Residuum. Scrapping a 460 item level piece of gear will yield 200 Residuum, and a 475 will probably yield somewhere around 1000. That one's a little hard to test. That means you'll need to scrap about 5 Azerite items to be able to buy the equivalent item level token from the vendor. So 5 475 pieces should give you enough Residuum to buy a 475 token, and so on and so forth. Scrapping has never been the major source for this currency though. The Mythic Plus weekly cache will still be your largest source as it always has been. I'll throw a little chart on screen for you from Wowhead because it's a lot easier to understand and read if it's right in front of you rather than just listening to me go through every single one. For key levels below 10 you'll see significant diminishing returns, so if you really want to push those brand new 475 tokens, you should be getting a plus 10 done as often as possible to maximize your chest rewards for each week. If you get a plus 10 key done in a week, you'll have 1,700 Titan Residuum waiting for you in the chest on reset day, and as you go above plus 10 keys, you'll add about 90 Residuum onto your weekly reward, up to a plus 20 key, where from there you'll get about an extra 65 per level of key. Anything marked with an asterisk is an estimate at this point, it's untested, but it all follows the pattern appropriately and quite neatly. So with a price tag of 4,750 Residuum on the 475 item level pieces, it would take you 3 weeks of completing a plus 10 key each week to earn enough Residuum to buy the highest item level token. That sounds about right and lines up with what we've seen in the past when new seasons of Battle for Azeroth have been introduced. If you want to knock that 3-week timer down to just 2 weeks, you'll actually have to go all the way up to a plus 18 key reward. At 17, 2 weeks of rewards will yield you 4,660 Residuum, which is just shy of the 4,750 requirement. You might be able to make that up with some spare Azerite gear that you get from normal or heroic raids and tearing it apart, but if you're just relying on the Mythic Plus cache, you'll need to hit that plus 18 mark on at least one of the 2 weeks. That's definitely going to be a bit of a push for most people, but with the new Mythic Plus affix being way more interesting and fun to play around with, I would encourage all of you to dip your toes back into Mythic Plus for this season specifically. I think this might be the best affix that we've had so far. I'm super excited to jump back into an area of the game that I haven't been all too bothered with since patch 8.2 was released. Yeah, beguiling isn't too fun for me. With this patch introducing more essences, a new legendary cloak that we can upgrade quite considerably, and the addition of corrupted gear, the power of our characters might scale way beyond what it's been able to so far in BfA. That means a plus 15 key might suddenly be in reach for almost everyone, at least after a few weeks of playing in patch 8.3 and collecting up all these new goodies. This is also the last patch and the last reset we're going to get, so there's no better time to knuckle down and reach some of those higher keys. If you still need a little poke to get you interested in Mythic Plus for Season 4, you should know that the special corrupted weapon effects that we originally thought were going to be restricted to very specific weapons in the new Nyalotha raid tier have started appearing on items from other sources, including the weekly Mythic Plus cache. We don't really know much about how this is going to work because the dev team is changing the corruption feature seemingly every week, But some of these effects are going to be incredibly powerful. If the weekly cache ends up being a very reliable source of corrupted items with some of the more impactful corruption powers, the weekly cache would become the single most important source of gear for pretty much everyone. It kinda makes sense to give it a bit of a bump. With Titan Forging disappearing for this patch, the weekly cache suddenly has a hard cap on its potential reward. Previously, the chest could spit out a super Titan Forged socketed best in slot item for you, but now it's going to have its item level limited to the Mythic Raid level. That's the starting Mythic item level 2. The last 2 bosses of the raid will actually drop gear that's 10 item levels above what the weekly Mythic Plus cache can drop. To balance that shift of power, the dev team might have decided that the weekly cache will have a higher chance to yield corrupted gear when compared to some other sources, like random drops, and that affects to the gear that you can earn. We don't have any confirmation one way or another, but it seems like a lot of the players who have been able to test the weekly Mythic Plus cache on the PTR have been getting corrupted items. I'll be keeping a close eye on the developments of this particular section of the public test realm, but just know for now that it looks like Mythic Plus rewards won't be left behind in patch 8.3. But that's all the new info I have regarding Titan Residuum, how much you're going to earn, and how much you need for the different tiers of tokens in patch 8.3. What do you think about the hard reset on the Titan Residuum system? Do you think they should have done this with every season, or were you happy with how the dev team was inflating the numbers with each new season previously? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.